Okay, again, out of the same set of strips, we're going to make these trees with a red sashing. And you'll notice on the very edge of this table runner, we've used the same set of fabric and cut it as a binding. Makes a really cute little binding, patchwork binding edge. So let me show you how I do those trees. I wish I could say this was more scientific, but it's really not. What I decide is how tall I want my trees, and then how wide I want them. And some of that has to do with what size of ruler I have at the time on my table, which we're all, you know, we all just do what we have with what we've got. So I've decided that I'm going to make these trees about 12 inches wide. So I just fold my fabric over. Let's get it right there on the 6. I make sure my little seam edges are lined up with the seams on the next one, on the next piece of fabric, the next strip that's sewn. And what I do is when I decide how tall I want my tree to be, notice the top little peak, you don't want to end on a white fabric because it'll blend in with your white background. So this top little peak right here will be a red top of the tree, and that will be darling. And so what I do is I just lay my ruler in a direct angle from the top to the bottom, and I give that a cut. Let's see if I got all those. There we go. And look, you have that darling little tree. Isn't that cute? So we're going to make a couple more of those, and we'll make them from the other side so that we use the bottom half of our triangle, so we use all of our fabric very well. So now we can even use this piece as a template, and we can lay it on here like this. And you can make your own paper templates. You can really do whatever you want. I'm just showing how I do this. I kind of reinvent the wheel all the time. So, but it's easy to make a fun little project, quick and easy project like this. So then now we have our 2 trees. Now this one right here, because it comes down to a strip that's sewn, you will need to go ahead and pick that out, and then you'll have your 2 trees. And I'll show you how to make them a square. Now when you have the fabric that you want to use for your background piece, you just take it and you make sure it has a straight edge on the bottom, which I just cleaned that edge up right there. I'm going to turn it toward me, and then I'm going to stand my tree on here, and I'm going to use the bottom edge of the tree. I'm going to use this tree over here. I'm going to use the bottom edge of this tree on the bottom edge of the fabric. And you can see that this makes a square up here. We want these squares, we want these to be, to cut these out so that we can set them in though, because we want it to be sewn in, not applique on. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and use this tree as a template again. And we're going to cut right along this edge. And this gives us, and we're going to cut a little bit, about 1 inch taller. And then we'll take our ruler and cut across the top right here. And we'll do the same thing on the other side, leaving enough room on the sides so that we have enough room to, there we go. Now what we're looking for is not this piece here, but we're looking for the 2 triangles that are out here, because that's what's going to set our tree into the middle. So let me get these out. Oops. There we go. Now I'm going to turn this so it's easier for me to cut, because it makes it a little difficult cutting it the other direction with when you're left-handed. So again, I'm going to cut off the tops of these, and then we'll head to the sewing machine. All right, there we go. Now we'll line up these triangles so that they lay together nicely. We're going to flip it over, and we're going to leave it just about 1/4 inch on the bottom and a little bit extra on the top. And then we're going to stitch 1/4 inch all the way down. Take a nice clean seam. It's always handy when you have 1/4 inch foot. we go. Now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. First we're going to press this open, just like this. See how we have the beginning of that set-in Christmas tree? That's going to be so cute. All right, let's head over to the ironing board. Now here we lay this right down on top of here. And remember, if you have the wide tree bottom, you want the narrow part of the triangle up there. And so vice versa, up here at the top, where you have the narrow part of the tree, you want the wide part of the triangle. So now we're just going to sew this side down, and then we'll show you the finished product in just a minute. Okay, so here we are with our finished block. We've squared it up, cleaned up the edges, and cut it to the size that we want. And then we're just going to put it together, and it will end up just like this one. An adorable little double tree. And look how much fabric we still have left out of this one jelly roll. I could probably make a couple more trees out of this one. So far we have 2 table runners and this big piece of fabric left. So you're going to be able to do all kinds of fun things with this jelly roll, this snowflower jelly roll. Okay, so now we're at the point where we have our 2 trees made and we want to border them. Or actually sash them. And so we're cutting, I decided, again, it's all preference, that we wanted a 2.5-inch strip because I wanted it to end up a 2-inch strip. And so then we'll attach that to our sides first, and then our top and bottom. And then we're going to put that other tree on the other side here to make our long table runner. Or you could use, this can stand alone as a wall hanging. But either way, we're going to do that. So then, once we get this on, we're going to cut the binding. And if we're going to use that patchwork binding, we're going to take our leftover piece of fabric, and we're going to lay it out. And we're going to clean up that edge so we have a nice edge, and our top and bottoms should be even. You can do it all in one long piece. I have a little, I don't know if it's because I'm left-handed or just crazy, but I have a little trouble with control of that ruler, so I like to fold my fabric. And I always do a 2.5-inch binding, and so I just pull this into 2.5 inches. And I'm going to cut that strip. And it'll work just exactly like a regular binding. It's really fun to make a patchwork binding. So you have all your little strips sewn together in a patchwork piece. We'll take this to the ironing board, we'll iron it in half, and we'll attach it to our quilt just like we do a normal binding. And it gives us this darling colorful edge. So that's the end of these 2 projects and our big jelly roll from Westminster Fabrics. Merry Christmas.